So tonight we have Thursday Night Football, and it's the first, real Thursday Night Football game, right? The first couple, they're like, how do we get Jacksonville and the Bengals and some of these other crummy teams on their Thursday night game? Like, let's have them all play each other. Oh, okay. Like, we had Miami, Jacksonville, and Cincinnati, Cleveland, like proximity rivals. But now we got big boy football. And while I don't think anyone believes the Bears are legit Super Bowl contenders, Khalil Mack, if you look, is back to playing like one of the top 5 defensive players in football. Tom Brady and the Buccaneers come fresh off a come from behind. They trail by double digits win at home over the LA Chargers. Now Brady's team is 3-1, and you look at the Bears. They're coming off of what I think anyone would consider a really, really, really disappointing performance. Not because they lost, but because of the fact that the Bears got outplayed. Like, I talked to somebody in the Bears organization a couple days ago, and he's like, man, we just laid an egg. That just doesn't, that just should not happen. Should not happen. Should not be able to sit there and go, wait, how does a team come and just kick our tail the way the Indianapolis Colts did? But that's what happened. So I think you got a motivated Bears team who's, I'd probably a playoff team, right? Like, the Bears are one of those teams, like, who else made the playoffs? Oh, the Bears. Yeah, they made the playoffs. Are they going to win? And look, it's technically a rematch of Foles versus Brady. Over under on how many times Philly specials mentioned tonight. Over under. 5? 5. The adage in broadcasting is, if you don't tell a story twice, you didn't tell it. So my guess would be that we're going to see the replay of Philly special at least twice tonight. How many times will it be mentioned? If it was 5, I'd take the under. 2, I'd take the over. It will be mentioned. But there's this thing in sports, and I find it fascinating that we're going to have back-to-back nights of kind of something similar, right? Which is older superstar athlete, clearly not what they used to be athletically, but super, maybe highest level of high sports IQ. And do they have enough around them to carry them so that their talents, though not what they used to be, can still come through in the end? Like, look, I think LeBron James is going to be amazing tomorrow night. Amazing. He's got an extra day off, and he, like everybody else in the bubble, just wants to go home. And if you look at the Lakers, their closeout games, that's when he has played his best basketball. He hasn't played great. He hasn't played poorly. He's been okay for LeBron. Like, Anthony Davis has been a bigger determinant in them winning and losing in terms of his production at both ends than LeBron. But in Game 5, he's going to be amazing. But LeBron can't do it every night, and he needs dudes around him. He needed to go out and get Anthony Davis, a top 5 player in the NBA, in order for all of his basketball wisdom and, frankly, his basketball skill to come out. I need you to carry me through the first three quarters, and then I can end up icing and finishing the game. Granted, it was Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, who we all knew would come through in the end, right? All of us at the start of the season were like, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope will come through in the end. That's a joke. Anyway, the same will happen tonight. Because there's this continuum in sports, right? You have this athletic ability, and then you have sports IQ. And when it's right in the middle, that's when you have, like, otherworldly talent. That was Tom Brady with Randy Moss. And maybe the story of Tom Brady, which is the most fascinating, which I feel like, and yes, I know, America, Doug Gottlieb filling in for Colin, I am a bit of a contrarian. But this is not a counter thought. This is a thought that I think sometimes we don't explore enough. Tom Brady's peak, he threw 50 touchdown passes. They went undefeated up until the Super Bowl. They lost basically on 1 or 2 crazy plays in the Super Bowl. We didn't get a chance to truly experience Tom Brady's peak because after throwing 50 touchdowns, he got hurt the next year. That's when they were the best team in the league. That's when they had elite level talent. And soon after, the Moss thing started to kind of sour. And look, he was still, remember, he went a decade without winning a Super Bowl. And it wasn't because that wasn't his best football. It was just because of other circumstances and coming off the knee. It takes like a year of coming back, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But we're going to see Brady tonight, and what is remarkable about Brady and remarkable about LeBron is they're at the peak of the other side of the continuum, right? Like absolute football brilliance. I'm not sure people understand exactly how hard it is for Tom Brady to do what he's doing. Have you guys ever tried to learn a different language in your 40s? Right? Like lots of our kids are learning foreign languages or whatever they do in schools now, right? On Zoom or whatever. And there's a portion of your brain that apparently closes up, doesn't completely close up, but shrinks every year after you're like 5 or 6 years old in terms of your ability to learn foreign languages. I tried to learn Russian when I was in my 20s, and I was okay at it. If I tried in my 40s now, it would be a disaster. I've spoken English my entire life, and English has nuances that make no sense in any other language. But in English, it does. In a Slavic language, like Russian, the train of thought is completely different, right? The sentence pattern is very, very different. That's Tom Brady. Tom Brady was essentially in the exact same system. And you can tell me, hey, man, they went from, he wasn't a major part of the offense early. Then it was screen pass, screen pass, screen pass. Then they got Randy Moss, and he threw the ball deep downfield a ton. And then they became, option route, crossing route, everything on third down underneath with Welker, and then to Danny Amendola, et cetera, et cetera. Right? You can tell me that the Patriots offense changed and metamorphosized itself, not just year to year, but sometimes week to week. Yes, Amendola, Julian Edelman, Wes Welker, kind of same guy, different, but same guy, same routes, whatever. The thing is, all of the terms, all of the verbiage, all of the reads, all of the automatics, you get to the line of scrimmage, you're like, ooh, I've seen this before. I know what the answer is. Now you go to Tampa, they got a completely different way of doing things. Outside of Gronk, who he barely uses, all those other guys are new. And though they got together and illegally threw the football at a park in Tampa, they didn't have a true offseason program. You got a coach who has been a no risk it, no biscuit, throw it down the field sort of guy. You got all these guys that are learning Tom Brady's way. They've never experienced winning, and Tom Brady has never experienced a new football language, a new verbiage. And so you get it to the line of scrimmage, and you're like, well, we call this Bama. Yeah, we call this California. What do you call it now? And yet, here we are 4 weeks into the season. Granted, they've played 3 mediocre teams. They're 3-1, and it appears like it's starting to hit its stride. But the true brilliance to LeBron, the true brilliance to Tom Brady that you're going to see the next 2 nights is the understanding of, I can't do this crap by myself anymore. I need a couple of guys in football and a guy in basketball to make some plays so that my sports IQ, and every once in a while I can dial up that old level of talent and be that superstar self that I have. There's lots of things that make you a sports genius. Okay, but the reason Bill O'Brien got fired, right, is the same reason that Kyrie Irving sounded like a jerk last week, is that the smartest people know enough to know what they don't know, right? And the smartest athletes know enough to know what they can't do anymore and get somebody else who can do it for them. I think there'll be times in which Tom Brady will look 43. I think that if they can force him off his spot, as has always been the case, and make him feel rushed, he'll be a little bit lost because the offense is very, very different. I'm not sure how good Tampa really is. But, you got guys in Tampa Bay saying, of course I believe in him. He's Tom Brady. He made a couple plays in the second quarter that made them believe, and then they just took off after that with the Chargers last week. Over the next 2 nights, I think you'll understand the true greatness of great athletes. I don't think I think Aaron Rodgers is probably the best quarterback I've ever seen play, but Tom Brady's the most successful for a reason. I'm a Jordan guy, not a LeBron guy. We can get into how we value this championship versus other championships. But the understanding of where you are athletically, the willingness to allow others to make plays that you used to be able to make, that's when you show your true kind of sports acumen, true brilliance to me.